Hello, welcome to our webinar on digital marketing campaigns. We are just about ready to get started. We have a few more people coming in, and we'll give them a second to log in and get ready for our webinar.
So I've got 0 watching currently. Oh, there we go. We got people coming in now.
Yep, there are folks coming in. We'll give them another 30 seconds or so for people to log in, and then we'll get started here in just a second.
As you're coming in, we have a poll that's going to be up on the screen for you, and it is: has your organization run a formal marketing campaign in 2025? And we've got 3 options for you. Yes, you've personally run one. Yes, one's been run for your organization if you haven't been hands-on with it. And then no, we haven't run a campaign. We're going to do a couple of these throughout our session today, just get some audience participation. So all right,
Ray. Well, let's get started. I am Tom Young, the founder of Intuitive Websites, and I've been working in digital marketing for many years. Ray Cameron is the CEO of Intuitive Websites and also has a long resume of work in digital marketing. And we're excited to be with you today and talk about digital marketing campaigns, which is a critical part of success in today's marketing world, especially with how things are changing with AI. So if you all are ready, let's jump in and learn about digital marketing campaigns. So I want to start with what you're going to get from the webinar today. Number one, you're going to get a digital campaign structure and a way to get more brand exposure in sales. Campaigns are very much focused on direct CTAs, direct call to actions, which should result in sales growth for your business. But we want to give you a structure for campaigns that wins and that will get you results. We're going to talk today a lot about messaging that moves people to action. We know that in today's marketing world, if you don't have great messaging, you just will not move people to action. And that's one of the keys to a successful campaign. We're also going to talk about how you can use AI to supercharge your digital marketing campaigns, and also how AI is changing how people research and search, which is going to facilitate the need for campaigns even more. And we're going to talk about how you select the right digital channels at the right time. So when your target market's ready to start a conversation with you, you'll be in front of them in the right channel at the right time. And we'll also talk about a framework for tracking campaign success. A big part of what we're going to talk about today is the idea that anytime you throw money and time and people at this kind of work, you want to have a framework for tracking that ROI in return. So these are the key things you're going to get from today. So let's jump in, and keep in mind we do have the poll. I'm wondering, Ray, if people are responding to that poll, it'd be a good starting point for us.
We did. We had a few people, I think, just because we started it right as people were coming in, but with a few answers. We got 75% of folks have run a campaign this year. 25% have had one run for them, and no one's saying that they haven't done one. I'm going to open up a new poll, actually. And this one, the question here is, how confident do you feel running a digital campaign today? So just get a sense for what kind of experience or mindset you have coming into this. And that's going to go up on the screen in just a minute, actually just a few seconds. And we'll put that up. I just want to say, as we get started today, that we've been talking a lot about the chaos of 2025 in digital marketing, and campaigns have become even more important to us and our clients, and even in our own digital marketing work. And we feel like with the changes with AI and Google search results and social media platforms being limited in how they're driving traffic to sites, that campaigns are more important than ever. So we selected this for a reason. We think it's valuable for you. It's been valuable for us. And we would encourage you to take notes and go away from here with ideas and plans to do your campaigns, and have 2026 be a year that you're really invested in being intentional about reaching your audience with your goals in mind. And that's what we'll talk about today here. So let me see where we're at with our poll.
Yeah.
You can go ahead, Tom. I'll wrap up the poll here in a minute. We can come back and visit.
Sounds good. So let's talk about what is actually a digital marketing campaign. I think it's really clear that we're all on the same page about what a campaign is. A campaign is a set of focused messages around a key pain or gain point that then uses paid and organic content across a variety of digital channels. And the ultimate goal of this campaign is to get your products and services in front of people, but then also move them to action so that they reach out and have a conversation with your company or have some kind of direct contact with you. But the campaign itself is focused on messages around pain or gain, and it's using both paid and organic content to get in front of folks. And I think it's really important to start with why campaigns fail, because I'm sure those of you that run campaigns will have experienced some of these things. The number one reason campaigns fail is because there was not a strong enough pain or gain point. And this is going to be your biggest takeaway from the webinar today, is that your campaign will only be as strong as the promise you're making to give something of value to people or to solve a pain that they have or a problem that they're trying to overcome. If you have a weak or confusing pain point, then you're not going to get results. In fact, a lot of campaigns have such a weak pain point that no one clicks on the campaign and the results aren't there. For example, a weak pain point would be just telling someone how great your company is. They don't want to know how great your company is. They want to know what you're going to do for them. So that's a key part of having a successful campaign. The other reason campaigns fail is to just have too broad a net. We want to have a laser focused set of messages to your target audience. We're going to talk about how to do that today. Another reason campaigns fail is that we end up sending people to a website landing page that doesn't match the intent of the user, or there's weak intent there. Your landing pages have to be spot on with that gain or pain point. And then a lot of campaigns don't succeed because we just didn't give them enough time. Campaigns take time. We need to, you're looking at 30, 60, 90 days to really grasp how a campaign's doing. And then the budget was not set properly. And we see this all the time with clients, where clients actually end up spending way too much money, way too fast. Then they pull the plug on the campaign and said, what went wrong? Well, they didn't have a laser focused target. The pain and gain statement wasn't there. The landing page wasn't there. And Google gladly took their ad money, and LinkedIn gladly took your ad money, but you didn't see the results, right? So budget has to be lined up with these other points to be successful. And in fact, we are very strong believers in watching your budget really, really closely, starting with smaller budgets and expanding upon what works, as opposed to throwing a lot of money at a problem. In fact, we're going to introduce you today to what's called the GAIN campaign model. And before I get into that, I'll just check with Ray and see if we have some results from our poll.
We do. This is the question: how confident do you feel running digital campaigns today? So with the why campaigns fail on the previous slide, we've still got an audience that's got some confidence. Half of you all here today have somewhat confidence or very confident. And then the rest of you here are maybe here to learn more than others, although that's why we're all here to learn together. So thanks for participating in that one.
That's great, because we want to give you the confidence today to run those campaigns. So let me give you this GAIN campaign model, the GAIN campaign model. And what we came up with in this model is a structure for you to follow. And if you follow this structure, you'll have a lot more confidence in your campaign. So let's take a look at the model. The G stands for the gain or the pain, and this is your campaign theme. So if you have a product or service that saves people time, or that is highly responsive, or that is a cutting engineering solution, whatever that gain is or the pain you're solving is the theme of the campaign. And this is where marketers can make major mistakes. A lot of times we think it's the product or service that's the theme, and it's not the product or service. It's what the product or service does for the target audience. And that's the G in the GAIN campaign model, the gain or the pain. The second area is the A, which is the audience, is the targeted personas. You want to look at your best customers and have a really good sense of how we're going to find more of those types of customers. If we throw out too broad a net, we're just not going to get those conversions because we can't connect to the gain or pain. So the A stands for audience. The I stands for identify your channel. Where are people? What channel are they on? Where are they going to be exposed to your brand in such a way that it will move them to action? And then the N stands for needs and wants. And needs and wants are met in the content and in the call to actions. Now, those are two separate things. The content are the benefit-rich phrases and taglines and paragraphs you're going to write for people to read and research. The CTAs are the things that move them to action. But that's the N in the campaign model, the need. This is the thing that they need. They need that content that gives them what they want, and they need the CTAs that make sense to them so they'll convert. So within this the gain campaign model, let's dive into each of these areas and understand how to make them successful. So let's start with the gain or pain. If you want people to be motivated to interact with your company, we've got to focus on what's in it for them and what pain are they going to avoid. This is how people get motivated to action. And there's a very basic question you can ask your customers, your current customers, and that is, what are the top 3 reasons that you buy from our company? If you can start gathering this information, now you're starting to gather what we would call campaign theme points or areas that we want to take out to your target market to attract them to you. And when you ask this question, you're going to get answers that you are surprised to hear. A lot of marketers think they really understand why people buy from them, but until you ask this question, you're not going to have that complete picture. The other thing you're going to find out is that people tend to buy from you for very simple, straightforward reasons. A lot of times we make it too complicated. And that's one of the reasons our landing pages don't convert. They're too complicated. There's too much there. Simplicity will drive conversions. So we have to understand our clear benefits because these are going to be the themes of our campaigns. What promise of gain are you making with your product or service? What pain or fear are you removing? If you know how this is working, then you know how your services and products add value, and then we can have these simple campaign themes moving forward. This is going to drive higher conversion rates and much more engagement with your brand. And it's so important today because fewer people are hitting websites. They're spending more time with AI tools. They're spending more time browsing through LinkedIn and their social media. They check their email inbox, but it's harder to find them in Google like we used to. So once we do get them on your website and get them to a landing page, we've got to be very clear about our benefits.
So Tom, let's pause here and point out the chat to the audience. And one, I'll let you know that if you have questions or comments throughout the presentation, let us know in the chat. But just to test here, what promises of gain or what pains are you addressing with your audience? If you want to put that in the chat, this is a great time to just do a little exercise and thinking while we're going through this.
Absolutely. And you know, a lot of times we think about price, right? We think, well, we have great pricing or we have a great price. Most people, most buyers aren't motivated by price. In fact, we want to avoid that race to the bottom, as Seth Godin says, right? Of focusing on price. We want to focus on the value of the product and the value of your service. All right. So we've talked about that, the key pain points, the key gain points. Now let's talk about how you find your audience. This is the people that are in need of your product and service. And what's interesting about your audience, we have to keep this in mind, is they always have options. And one option that they have is to do nothing, right? That's an option. So people have options. To move them forward, we've got to really know, who is most likely to buy your products and services and when will they shop. So one of the things that the web has done and AI is accelerating is that it's hard to move people when they're not ready. But when they're ready and they're shopping, that's when they'll move. That's when they'll move to action. That's when they'll reach out. So your ads have to be targeted and focused on the right personas. So when they're ready to act, they'll reach out to you. It's one of the reasons why it's so hard to do cold calling today and try to capture people's attention that way. So targeting when people are ready to buy and the right persona is the key to make this happen. And to define your personas, I want you to think about some marketing fundamentals and basics. The first one is demographics. Persona demographics are anything that's black and white, that's fully measurable in your persona. Things like age, things like purchasing power, things like the type of career they have, the kind of job they have, their buying preferences. Anything that's black and white, that's a demographic. Geographics is location. And I'll tell you right now, one of the secrets to campaign success is geo-targeting to keep budgets down. If we throw campaigns nationwide, we are going to throw money away. We need to know what geographics our personas are in and target those geographics very closely. And the tools we have now in LinkedIn, Google Ads, they do that really, really well. And then the third area is psychographics. And psychographics is what is the mental state of your buyers and your target market and your audience. And you can get this by talking to your customers. They'll tell you the reasons they buy. You know, what are the emotional hot buttons that your products or services push? When we do these things, then we'll get those pain and gain points, and we'll also understand what content they want to read. When we know what content they want to read and we can identify these personas, then we'll know what channel they're in. So you want to find your best personas. And one of the ways to do that is talk to your sales team. I know that, you know, a lot of people say, well, duh, of course we talk to our sales team, but we'd be amazed how many clients we work with. The marketing team just is not talking to the sales team. We've got to bridge that gap. The sales team has got to talk to the marketing team about personas. AI tools like ChatGPT are fantastic at creating personas. And I highly encourage you to go to ChatGPT, use the paid version, and build these targeted personas using this tool, and ask the ChatGPT what kind of content they want to read. And ultimately, the best marketers know how to clone their best customers. So most of the clients we work with have a handful of customers that are absolutely fantastic. They want more of those customers. We want to clone those customers and reach them with this targeted messaging. And then, of course, as I mentioned, interview your current customers, ask them why they buy from you, and then use that messaging in your campaigns, in your landing pages, and repeat back to your marketplace the reason people buy from you. And finally, I just want to say, don't guess. Now, I've been in marketing a long time, and Ray and I both sat in a lot of marketing meetings, and there's just too much guessing going on when it comes to campaigns. We need to know, we need to do less guessing and have more knowledge. And when we do that, we get higher conversion rates and we'll get a stronger ROI from our spend. And this is an interesting slide that we added this morning because we wanted to give you a sense of where you can find your personas and where they hang out. And this is a very specific persona for one of our clients. This is a persona of a Florida-based luxury architect and design professional. And this person is a key influencer for our client because they select our client in their drawings and in their work. And then our client then gets the new work and the new business. Ray, do you want to give us a summary of this slide and where it came from?
Yeah. And before that, I'll just say personas, they've always been important. And we talk about this a lot at Intuitive Websites, that it's always been important and it's more important than ever. And I think personas is one of those things that falls into that category. We've done them since the beginning and we've used them to varying degrees, but it seems like this year, the amount of time that we pull out our personas and are using them in our content planning and our campaign planning is, I mean, maybe multiplied just because we're doing so much with it. And these personas, in the age of AI, we're using AI to develop campaigns and content. We should be, and maybe 2 years ago there would have been resistance on that, but there's just too much benefit to not be utilizing the AI platforms to plan campaigns. So we're doing a lot more work, and just giving you a peek behind the curtain. This data here comes from a tool called SparkToro. There's not a lot of secrets these days. You have access to this tool, and we'd encourage you to use it. We thought it was a pretty simple tool when we first started using it, but have learned as we've been using it more this year that there's so much value that you can get from this. And one example I want to point out in this specific picture is, or the screenshot is number 6. The 6th most popular channel for this audience, the architects and design professionals, is Pinterest, which when we first saw it was initially surprising. And then as we thought about it, not so surprising after, because the architectural and design world is a visual place. And so it's number 6, but it's used 16% more than the national average. So this is a group of people that are visually led and are spending time here, which both of those, the platform and the fact that it's a visual audience, gives us information about using imagery in campaigns more and on landing pages in our ad creative, that type of thing. So a lot of times we're seeing YouTube as number one. It's the number one search engine, or number two or three, depending on the season or the poll. But that's almost always up at the top, and then you get to see these other platforms and evaluate which ones you're gonna focus. Which we'll talk about platforms in a few minutes here.
Yeah, and it's fantastic to see LinkedIn at number 5. And LinkedIn, it just continues to amaze me. This year was a breakout year for LinkedIn. And I think some of that has to do with how people are using AI in search. So they're using like Google's AI mode and AI in search results, but they're networking and they're communicating on LinkedIn, and they're sharing on LinkedIn, and they're taking in information. LinkedIn has been a big winner from the whole AI changes we've seen this year. So we love it. We love LinkedIn. They have great campaigns, great targeting, and it's great to see them on this list at number 5.
Tom, since we have the slide up on channels, I just launched another poll that should be coming up for folks in just a minute. The question is, what has historically been your most effective digital marketing channel? And we're gonna talk about channels. And
Yes.
After we do that, I'll come back around and show what the audience has said.
Absolutely. Yeah, because the I in the GAIN model is identify your channel, uncover this anonymous researcher. So AI has accelerated that. The internet has made it a way of life for marketers. Your potential and prospective customers are out there anonymously researching you, landing on your website, checking you out, looking for your reviews, all those things. How do we uncover that anonymous researcher and convert them in our sales channel? Well, let's talk about that a little bit. The good news is that we know the channels that are the winners. In fact, we just shared with you a slide of some of the key winners across the spectrum. But for the most part, the winners are going to be Google, your website, your social media favored by your persona, AI tools, which are coming on strong, and we're learning how that's working, and then email marketing. These are the key channels you're going to run campaigns into. Even though Google has flatlined and Google organic search is not growing dramatically, it's pretty flat or even dropping, we still need to be found in Google. We still need to look at Google. And our philosophy lately has been, once we learn how campaigns do with an appropriate budget, like in LinkedIn, then we can go to Google and do Google ads and be really smart about it. So these are the channels that have really come on strong. So we've got Google for ads and organic. We have social media for video, ads, organic. And I want to make a point here that video does great in social media. I know when we think about video, we're thinking, well, let's put videos on our website. You know, and videos do okay on your website. They don't do great, but they can do fantastic in social media. Email marketing is a must-have. If you're listening to this webinar, you must have an email newsletter, and you must be capturing email addresses and doing email marketing campaigns, and also email marketing nurturing and automated messages. And then we've got to keep our eye on AI search queries. That's a wild, wild west right now. Google's AI mode is certainly one of the most popular. ChatGPT is also super popular, but this is all going to start to change over time as we start to see the advent of paid results showing up in AI search queries. We see this happening in 2026. And then, not to be left out, other websites that are in your industries. If you know your personas and you know what websites they visit, you can usually run ads on those websites, and they're usually super affordable. If you can target those ads, they're super affordable, and they can produce really good results. And a lot of times, being found on industry websites is just a matter of you having a relationship with the person who manages that website. A lot of times, they're anxious and eager to post content that from thought leaders. So that's another area to look at when you look at campaign channels. So let's take a look at the poll, and we'll come back.
Yeah, we've got about 20% of our attendees that have voted. So if you haven't voted yet, take a look at your screen. There's a poll up, and the question is, what has historically been your most effective digital marketing channel? Jump in there and give us an answer. But Tom, I'm going to put you on the spot here while we're waiting for some other people. And it's going back to an earlier topic, but I want to ask you, what do you think some of the pain points we're addressing for our target audience as a digital marketing agency?
Yeah, it's a great question. And the reason the question is so good is because Ray and I live and breathe this work every day, right? And sometimes we have to stop for a second and say, why are we doing this? What's the value people get from us? And I think that one of the big things that people get from working with us is the confidence that they have a team that will know what they're doing and get this work done. That confidence in us is huge, right? Because there's so many folks doing digital marketing, and I hear this all the time from our clients. They'll get two different opinions on how to solve the same problem, right? And over the years, so many clients have come to me and said, well, the things that you're telling us to do, the other agency said not to do those things.
Mm-hmm.
And so, and I'll scratch my head and it will say, why did the agency tell them to do that? Well, it's the confidence to get things done right. I also think that people come to us because we're comprehensive and they love the thoroughness of our onboarding process and our assessment. In fact, we've had clients tell us that, wow, no one has gone into that much detail and depth with us, and we love that, right?
Yeah.
And then that even builds more confidence.
Yeah.
Those are the things I see.
Yeah,
and the reason to jump in if you see others.
Yeah, the reason I asked is because the first two answers in the poll were unsure. And I think of one of the things that we've been doing recently is your website ready for AI? I don't remember the exact question, but it's the confidence thing that you were talking about. As a digital marketing agency, we can help you understand what is most effective, which gives you confidence in the work that you've been doing, but then we can be a partner for you in giving you confidence in what's going to be effective moving forward. And it's especially important now because I think what's effective November of 2025 could be very different than November of 2026. We know that AI is going to continue changing. We know social media platforms are going to be continuing to change how much traffic they send out of their site, the way they do paid, the way AI is used in those platforms. So knowing what's most effective is going to be really important. And then that persona work is also ongoing because I think the patterns of where people are spending time are also going to change. And so the persona work that we talked about previously is not a one-time thing, especially today. We've got to continue to do that. And this channel data here is important to be looking at all the time. So number one was social media in the poll, followed by organic search, i.e. Google, and then email was another one, which none of those surprised me.
It's fascinating, and it's fascinating to see paid search is 0.
Yeah.
Because I have to say that if you ask me the question, where have people wasted the most money in digital marketing? By far, it's been Google Ads. So many companies have wasted money in Google Ads, not running the proper campaigns. So a big part of this webinar is to help train you on how to be more effective with campaigns. So if you start to spend money, you see that return. But also, we've seen amazing wins from Google Ads. I mean, we've seen clients land major deals from someone who clicked on an ad. So if it's done properly, it can certainly work.
Yeah.
Let me bring back the slides, and we're going to talk about the call to actions, the needs and wants, right? The CTAs. So this ties so much into the benefits that we talked about before and the value that people want from your business. So as we jump into this, it's so important to note that your CTAs are the things that move people to action to decrease pain and get value. They don't, so someone's only going to call you if that pain has gotten strong enough that they need to make that call and get this going, or they really see that perceived value. So that's what that need and want is so critical here. So if we're going to talk about CTAs and needs and wants, we have to start talking about the funnel. And I want to start with the middle of the funnel, because most CTAs in your campaigns need to be strong in the middle of the funnel, right? This is where people raise their hand and they're not anonymous anymore, right? If they're at the top of the funnel, they're hitting your website, they're looking at your social posts, but they're anonymous. We don't know who they are. Once they get to the mid funnel, then they've told us who they are. And we want people to understand the power of AI powered website chatbots. And this is coming on really strong. if you want to know more about these things, book some time with us, and we'll talk to you about how these work. But I see 2026 as the year of the AI-powered website chatbots. They're going to be on a lot of websites. They're going to be huge mid-funnel conversion points, because this is where people have now stopped being anonymous and they've raised their hand and they want the conversation has started. Please have an email newsletter subscribe on your website. If you're a thought leader, that's so critical. Webinars like what we're doing today, content downloads, ebooks, all of these things are great mid-funnel assets. If they touch on those pain points and gain points, they work great. Online tools and calculators where people can do like an ROI assessment or something like that of your products and services. These are great, and you can put them behind a gated page, so people have to give you an email address to get that information. AI tools can help you write the code to put these on your website. And then, of course, demos and free trials still do really, really well in the middle of the funnel. Now, when we get to the bottom of the funnel, and I almost forgot offline events. I would definitely want to mention that. Offline events are super, super important. And your digital marketing has to tie into these offline events, and they're great middle of funnel activities. Seminars, events, conferences, meetings that you set up, that sort of thing. All right. Yeah, so the bottom of the funnel is super important as well. And I want to stress with you the importance of thought leadership. So if you position yourself as a thought leader and you've got great content on your website, great resources, great blogs, all of those things, then people want to speak to you as a thought leader or someone on your team. So the bottom of the funnel needs to be more around speaking to an expert, right? Getting advice from an expert to help solve the problem or get that gain that you want. Offering an assessment or an audit. One of the reasons people work with Intuitive Websites is we do a lot of stuff for free. we give away a lot of information. We give away a lot of insights, either at a very low introductory price or for free, because we want to earn that trust. We want you to see the confidence in working with us. You can do the same thing. Book a meeting tool. People love this because they can do it on their time frame, and they can use their calendar to find a meeting time. Phone numbers, emails, and submission forms. I'm amazed that in 2025, phone numbers are still fantastic conversion points. And a lot of that has to do because people are on their phone, they're on your website on their phone. They want to make the call because the pain or gain is great enough. They click that phone number and boom, they talk to someone at your office. And then emails, of course, having people email you directly. Be aware of how you're taking your emails in from your campaigns, right? Make sure those emails don't go to a spam filter or don't get lost, and make sure someone is going through those emails and combing through them so we don't get, junk emails confused with emails that are your prospects or prospective customers. That happens as well. And then, of course, test your submission forms, set up thank you pages to track those conversions. Also, if you can, then combine the speak with an expert with the get a demo. So if your expert can provide a demo and it's a hands-on interactive demo, make that happen. You'll see conversions at the bottom of the funnel from your campaigns by doing this. Now, I did see a question in the audience chat. I thought I would address this. It's from Rachel, and she asked a question about how to find the best channel for my industry. Well, and the way I would do that, Rachel, is by doing your persona homework. So start with your persona homework. Once you do your persona homework, then you can ask the question, what channels or websites or tools do these personas prefer? And then start that list. And then you'll start to see the trend. And then that's where you want to be active with those folks. You can also use ChatGPT and Google's AI mode to help clarify that. So once you identify the persona, put that persona into ChatGPT and ask it the question, what channels can I find this persona in? And what channels are they active? Now, generally, if it's going to be B2B, the social channel for B2B is LinkedIn. By far, LinkedIn is the industry leader. And you can count on the fact that they're going to be in their email inbox, and they'll probably use Google in some form or fashion. So those three channels usually rise to the top.
So Tom, I plugged Rachel's industry into SparkToro, and I don't want to, I'm not going to show it now, but if we get done and have a few minutes, Rachel, I'll pull up and use you as an example of how we use a tool to dig into it, one certain way to learn about channels.
Sounds great. Good. So the campaign messaging is critical, and it's critical to the GAIN model. So let's talk about how we move people to action with content, with words. So the messaging in your campaign is the promise for gain or the promise to remove that pain they're experiencing, the problems they're having. So I want everyone in this webinar to go back and look at their campaigns they have running right now and ask the question, is our message a promise to remove pain? Is our message a promise of some kind of gain? If our message is, hey, come buy our product, it's fantastic, not going to work. It's not removing the promise for pain and gain. If your message is that you have an engineering solution that solves a pain point for engineers in a certain target market, and that's the message in your campaign, then yes, that's a winning message. That'll move people to action. So let's jump in a little deeper into messaging that motivates. Well, I want to start with your campaign taglines. And this is a big part of what Intuitive Websites does. We help people with taglines on home pages, but your campaign taglines is going to move people to action. Those pain and gain points, the benefit statements need to be right there. People are scanning content. They're not reading in depth unless something catches their attention, and that's going to be your tagline. We want to talk about you as opposed to we or I. We want to talk about the thing that they get, what you're going to get, right? That's if someone reads that content and they see that it's going to be an engineering solution for them, they're more likely to move forward. So use the word you. Get those benefits as opposed to features in your content and drive that gain and pain. You definitely want to use images and graphics, but use those images and graphics to support that campaign tagline. Don't be random with images and graphics. Be very strategic. Make sure that your images and graphics are supported with the campaign tagline. And then, of course, make your target customer the hero and make you the guide. In fact, a great thing that you can say in your campaign taglines is, let us be your guide, and then fill in the blank, to solving your pain. Tell them what that pain is. Let us be your guide to helping you accomplish what you're looking to accomplish. So like for Rachel is in business coaching and in private equity. So for business coaching, business owners struggle with a lot of core things. They struggle with, hiring the right people. They struggle with profitability. They struggle with big business decisions like to bring partners on. They struggle with marketing and sales, right? So if you have a pain point you're really good at solving, like let's say that you are great at financials, and so you have a small business owner that struggles with their financials. Are you, let me be your guide, or let us be your guide. Let us be your guide to solving the financial issues of this small business. Right now, you're making the customer the hero, and you are the guide. All right, and as you build these campaigns, you're going to have assets. You're going to have a lot of different things in place to make the campaign work. Let's talk about campaign assets. It's critical to get these pieces in place. Without them, the campaign is going to fall apart really quick. So what are the campaign assets that are most important? Well, number one is the campaign content and graphics. So you will have to have a series of graphics and a series of content pieces. And some of the content pieces might include blog posts. It could include ebooks. It can include a webinar. Certainly would include a website landing page we're going to talk about in just a second. But you'll have to put that content together. You'll have to set up your accounts, probably in LinkedIn or Google Ads, especially if you're going to do paid ads. You have to have accounts in those two platforms. As I said, you'll have to have blogs and resources content. Videos are also an important part of campaign success. You also build social posts and a social calendar that runs in conjunction with your campaign and the campaign theme. And you'll have to have website landing pages. The website landing pages are super important. And then, of course, all the things I mentioned in the mid-funnel assets are part of your campaign assets as well. But I want to talk about website landing pages because this is an area where we see a lot of our clients fall short, and we spend a lot of time on website landing pages. The most important thing is that your website landing pages match the user intent. So if you have a campaign that's talking about the pain you solve for business owners that struggle with their financials, but then they come to the landing page and they start to read how you're a business coach helping people achieve their dreams as a business owner. Well, that's a mismatch in user intent, and it's going to confuse people, right? But if they come to the landing page and it's all about solving financial pain points, you're going to have a higher conversion point. So that's where we target our campaigns to get results. That landing page also has to have a clear and direct tagline at the very top of the page that tells people, this is the pain point we're going to solve. This is the gain you're going to get. Keep submission forms simple and visible. Keep the submission forms above the fold, and keep it very simple. We found that a lot of times your landing pages will convert simply because the form is so visible to people. They come to the page to convert really quickly. If we bury that form and we put it too far down the page, we could lose people before they convert. Use various contact methods, and keep in mind that in addition to a submission form, some people want to call you, some people want to email you directly, some people want to know your location and they'll set up a meeting and come to your office. And then, of course, keep those clear benefit statements in your landing page. And if you can, think about the risk statements, right? And risk statements are the things that can go wrong if they don't follow your advice with this solution. Landing pages are also great for testimonials, client logos, success stories, case studies. Anytime you can show how you've solved this problem for others, that's great. But I want to caution you that you don't generally want to feature this at the top. This is something that's more in the middle of the page or at the bottom of the page, because it then will support your case that you're making for a conversion, right? People want to see the benefits and the risk statements, and then they want to see, oh, well, who have you done this for and who have you worked with? Okay, so we're going to get into campaign reporting and talk about the way to measure results. And we're going to talk a little bit about a campaign we've run recently and how we achieve success. So I'll give you an example of how that works. So conversions and conversations, those are the payoffs for you. The conversions where the anonymous researcher lets you know who they are, and then a conversation with your company, whether it's an AI chatbot, a salesperson that you're talking with, or a free assessment that you're walking people through. But we want those conversations, right? We want those meetings. And here is the data we want to track to get us there. Now, one of the things that we love about campaigns is just the overall number of impressions you can reach. It's not uncommon in a very targeted campaign to reach tens of thousands of eyeballs with your brand. And that has a lasting impact over time that is fantastic and generally worth the ROI in that alone. We also want to measure clicks to your website landing pages. We want to measure those mid-funnel conversions, which are easily measurable because people usually have to give you an email address for that. And then we want to measure the bottom of funnel conversions, which is usually the conversation that happens. So what you'll see is once you start to drive this data in your campaign, you'll see conversion rate percentages start to show up. And then when you see those percentages show up, then you know, well, if I keep spending money and time in this, I'm going to see that conversion. And that's how we get that ROI. And then, of course, the final thing to track is what are these opportunities, closed and became closed business and new clients, and what is the lifetime value of that new customer? I do want to give you some expectations around campaigns. They do take time. If you're going to do a campaign, you've got to give it a minimum of 30 days. Optimally, 60 to 90 days is much better. Also realize that if you use that campaign structure that we talked about today, the gain structure, you're going to see results quicker. You're going to feel more confident in your campaigns. And then realize that you will have to spend some ad money ahead of lead conversion. But it goes hand in hand, because what you see working in organic, you can learn from that and use it in your ad spend as well. And as I said, we love to start with LinkedIn and learn from LinkedIn because it's much more targeted. You'll spend less money and then move on to Google ad spend. And then keep in mind that campaign results will continue even after the campaign stops. In fact, it makes a lot of sense to run an organic campaign long-term and then supplement that with paid traffic when you're looking to build more pipeline or build more sales meetings or add new customers. All right, so let's do a campaign case study and then we're going to open it up for questions. And then Ray, we'll have some time to go look at Rachel's demographics in a little bit more detail.
Okay, let me, before you jump into this, let me put one more poll up since we got through all the elements and guides for doing great campaigns. I'm going to put a new poll up, and this one is, what is your biggest challenge with campaigns right now? So some of the answers: developing the right message, finding the right audience, tracking performance, some of the things that we've just gone through. So that poll should be coming up any second. And Tom, take us through the case study, and then we'll come back to the poll answer afterwards.
Yeah, I encourage you all to complete this poll because I want to take a few minutes here at the end of the webinar and dive into those real life examples and help you figure out, what can we do to turn that around. So let's give you go ahead.
And if you have questions right now that you have in mind too, feel free to be putting those in the chat, and we can address questions. I think we'll have some time to do that after this.
Absolutely, yes. This is an actual campaign that we ran. It's a campaign that we ran at Intuitive Websites for our own business. And I wanted to share data with you. So I thought this was good to share because it's not one of our clients. A lot of that data is proprietary. So don't want to share that, but I don't mind sharing this with you because I think it's spot on to all the things we're talking about in our gain structure. So our campaign was touching that pain point and gain point of, is your website ready for AI? So we just knew that a lot of people were wondering, what's going on with AI? I'm losing traffic. Is my website ready for AI? What do I need to do to get my website ready for AI? We knew that was a major pain point. So we went straight into this full steam ahead and said, hey, is your website ready for AI? We'll help you figure that out. And this is how we structured it under the gain model. So the gain and pain point was, how does your website adapt to AI? How does it adapt to the things that are happening right now? How does it show up in AI search? All of those things. That's the gain or pain. The audience was our own HubSpot database and mid-level marketers that we were pretty strategic with and focused on, that we knew were generally tasked with managing a website and getting results from their website. But I want to point out here that our HubSpot database was key to this, right? Because we have thousands of people in our database and we want to move them to action as well. You probably have similar databases. And one of the things campaigns can do is move people in your database to action. And we found out that this worked for us. We identified the channels as LinkedIn and Google search. We did some email marketing, but we put the money into LinkedIn. We did not do Google ads for this. We probably could have done some Google ads and got results, but we focused on LinkedIn and Google search. And the needs and wants were very straightforward. We offered a free website evaluation. So we basically said, if you want to get a free website evaluation, or is your website ready for AI, submit this form. And then I went to their website and I did a video of my thoughts and impressions on the website. I ran it through Google's AI mode and I gave them feedback. This is what you need to do to get your website ready for AI. So let's look at the campaign results and the data for the campaign. Over a 2-month period, we ended up with 43,000 impressions in LinkedIn. Now, we had more activity on our email list, but this is the number that I really liked, right? So this is long-term value because as we start to do more campaigns and more webinars, people will repeatedly see Intuitive Websites showing up in their feed. And then that moves them to action because they recognize the brand. We influenced 402 people to take action in LinkedIn, to like, to share, to read, to interact with our posts. And we drove 800 website visits. And I love that because those folks will come back and they'll stay engaged. From this, we had 20 requests for a free website review. Now you might be saying, wow, that only 20 requests? Well, I was busy. It felt like every other day I was reviewing a website. So we really couldn't take much more than that. And that all of these folks now are in our database and we're marketing to them. So I was really happy with the 20 requests because this is people that are no longer anonymous and we know who they are, and now we're going to market to them. And from those 20 requests, we landed 3 new clients and our total ad spend was $5,000. Now, those 3 new clients that landed with us, we know that clients that come on board with Intuitive Websites generally stay with us for 2 to 3 years, sometimes longer. We had clients that have been with us for 10 years. So you can see the lifetime value of how this really adds up when we add a new client. Now, we did have team member time was spent on this as well, but you have a marketing team, they're going to spend their time on something, right? But the ad spend of $5,000 is going to see a return that could be 20 to 1, 30 to 1, or more than that, right? So we're happy with the return. And as I said, there's more to come. because now we're going to continue the organic side of this. That'll continue to go. And we have the landing pages built, we have the forms built, and it's real easy to run an email campaign or to post it in social, and we'll see more results from that campaign over time. All right, so we want you all to take some action, and we want you to look at this GAIN campaign model and make it happen. Now, we're here to help you, but I think it's key for you to understand strategically what we would be doing and how we would be helping you. And then we work with you collaboratively. We'll work on these things together, but let's figure out what is your campaign theme? Who is the audience we're going after? What is the channel that they're locating in? And what is the content and call to actions that need to happen to move that to action? Now, if you're wondering where to start, and we'll send you the slides as well, the first place to start is really know your gain and pain points. In fact, the best marketers live inside the head of their customers. And when they do that, they understand what the gain and pain points are. Get those detailed personas going, as we explained to Rachel. Determine where your prospects are online. You can do that in your persona work. And then work on those CTAs, the things that will motivate them to action. All right. So hopefully you're ready to develop these assets and get ready and get launched. But we're here to support you. Pick up a copy of my book, which goes into great detail on campaigns in the age of AI. You can find this book on Amazon and wherever books are sold. And then feel free to book a time with me and follow up. You can email me directly, or you can use the meeting link in the slides that we're going to send to you, which is listed here. And we'll do a follow-up consult, and we'll talk about how we can build campaigns to support your company.
Great. Okay, so we have 10 minutes left, and we've got two things queued up to go. One is I'm going to put the results of the last poll up here briefly, and then after that, we'll take a look at applying Rachel's specific question to a research tool that we use. So I love the answers to this poll. Put it up on the stage here. The number one challenge was tracking performance, and I think that probably could have well been the case in the same answer a year ago. But it doesn't surprise me that it's the top answer today, and I think it'll get worse next year. And the reality is, with privacy, we're getting less and less accurate data. You think about things like what Gmail has started doing. Apple Mail has been doing this for a while. But when you're doing email campaigns, some of those emails are getting dumped into a folder. And people may never see it. Now, that's not necessarily about tracking performance, but with the way these platforms that we're advertising on, or the email clients that we're sending email to, we're just not getting data back like we used to on those. And so tracking performance is both having the technology to track it, having the data, but also just the frustration of not being able to get the amount and the accuracy of data that we have been able to in the past, which goes back to what Tom was talking about. What is it that we want to measure? There are two things that were in the title of that slide, and it's conversions and conversations. A lot of the other things are getting more and more difficult to measure, but we know when someone converts because we have their contact information, and we know when we've had a conversation. So,
and Ray, I think that the two tools that we use that are so important in digital marketing is Google Analytics and HubSpot.
Yep.
Those are so foundational to getting this reporting right. If you're not on Google Analytics and monitoring that, then it's going to be tough to monitor the return. But a tool like HubSpot is absolutely fantastic at tracking campaigns. And so we highly, highly encourage you to take a look at HubSpot if you're not using it already.
Yeah. One other thought on this poll, the next two and three, developing the right message and internal alignment. And then fourth and fifth are content creation, finding the right audience. But one of the things that stood out to me, and I was thinking about this while you were talking on the messaging slides, Tom, is developing the right message is a decision, and it's definitely based on research. There's work to do to get that, but content creation is time intensive, and it takes work, and oftentimes multiple people to do that. And messaging does too. But that messaging piece, I think the way that you talked about it, and I wonder if people would have answered the same way if we asked this at the beginning of the conversation. But it's one thing to do content and pick a channel and do the activities of a campaign, but it's a different thing to get the right messaging and have it be effective. And so
Yeah.
Activities and effectiveness don't always go together, and that's why we're doing this today, to bring all of those things together.
Yeah, I think that if I can give some feedback on messaging, think about simplicity and being direct, right? There's a time and place for creative messaging and cute messaging and funny messaging and all that. But if you're direct and clear, you're going to have higher conversion rates, right? That's super important. And then the next part is, like I said, really understand the benefits and the value, the pain and the gain, the risk points, the reasons people come and work with you. One of the things that's true for so many businesses today is that you gain customers because they switch, right? It's so hard to have that blue ocean strategy where you're gathering customers because you're the only one doing this thing. For most of us, people have had an experience now with someone that does a similar thing to what you do or similar product or service. So they're going to switch. And that switching comes because we understand what we do better than competitors, and we can make a promise of gain or promise of avoiding pain that they can't, and they have shown that they can't do. So those are some keys to getting messaging right.
Yep. Okay, Rachel, I hope you've stayed because I'm about to show this tool with your specific information in here. But to practice our own preaching here, I'm going to put a link up in the presentation here. It is a link to schedule a meeting with Tom. We talked about Tom doing those assessments. And so I will also grab this. I hope I have it. Well, it should be on your screen, upper right corner. And we'll on the last slide, we'll put some information up about how to get in touch with us too. But Rachel, if you're still on, let me put this up, and I think everybody else will find this valuable too. This is a tool that we use called SparkToro. I believe that you could get a free trial of it or do a few free, research activities on it. It's a simple tool. It can give you some great insights right out of the box, and yet it at the same time has the ability to just keep being refined. And if you want to get deeper than a couple questions in it, we'd love to work with you and have a chance to dig in deep to your personas. But so Rachel, the prompt here is I created a custom audience, and it's somebody seeking private equity and business coaching. Now that is from just a brief comment or your brief comment. So that may not be the right definition, but just as an example, we can see that 70% are male. So now this is those demographics, the top employer industries, financial services. Right out of the gate, I'm looking at that thinking, I think that's wrong because I don't think you're going after the financial services. You are financial services, and you're going after people who are in other business. I could be wrong on that, but that's just an example of the type of thinking that you have to have as you go through these, and not just take this at face value, but really be critical of what it's giving. But
one of the things that could do for you, Rachel, is they could be referral sources for you. So one of the things that campaigns can do, if we're smart about them, is you can also find a network of referrals, right? So if you might get business from the financial services sector because they don't do the specialty kind of work you do. And that's a whole nother campaign model in itself to have conversations with them.
Yep. And then I'm just going to show this one last thing. We're running out of time, but just a peek at the model, at the tool. But as Tom said a few minutes ago, LinkedIn, it's huge here. It's the number 2 channel. But as significantly that it's number 2 is this particular audience uses LinkedIn almost 30% more than the general population. So it's high up and it's more saturated, if you will. Saturated, maybe a little bit strong word on that, but you can go through here and see that they're on Instagram and Reddit as well. And it's not necessarily because those are business platforms, but these are human beings that hang out on channels that we need to know about. And so we've got to break out of if I'm doing business B2B marketing, then I should only be on LinkedIn. That's not true. You got to look at the channels your people or your audience is spending time on, and go there regardless of whether it's a business channel per se or not. Yeah. So, okay, Tom, you want to put that slide up? We'll wrap up with, so people have contact information. I do see there might be one more comment here. We got a couple thank yous. I'm glad you all came. Thanks for so many of you staying till the end with us. But Tom's email address, you can also call. It's a strong call to action, as Tom mentioned earlier. And then that schedule a meeting is still up on the screen. If you're on your desktop, you can click on that. I don't know if it works on mobile. I don't know if anybody would be on mobile, but we'd love to hear from you, and keep your eyes on your email. In the coming weeks, we'll have another webinar in January. We're going to skip December. We'll have some time off. So if you want to talk to us, catch us soon, because we'll be taking some time off for the holidays. But thanks for joining us today, and we hope you'll see you back on our next one.
Thanks, everybody.